So you want a bagger. I can see why. Everybody and their sister on North American roads seems to have one. Where I live in Ontario, Canada, these probably make up between 30 and 40% of bikes on the road. Down south between Tennessee and Florida, it's more like 60. And a bagger, an American-style cruiser with hard bags and a fairing, is a wonderful travel companion. Big, comfortable, highway-capable, rumbly, most of them, loads of torque, sporting a stereo, most of them, and with lots of storage for your stuff. And the least expensive of these bikes by far, yet offering a lot for your money, is the Kawasaki Vulcan Vaquero 1700, a bike that is often overlooked in bagger discussions. So I spent a week and 1000K with this one. Did this bike turn me into a bagger bro? Stay tuned for the full review and report. And as always, if you find this content valuable, like, subscribe, share. Thanks a million. So a bagger has a lot of criteria it has to meet to be truly successful. It has to look good, sound good, cruise easily on a mountain of torque, have big bags, good wind protection, a nice stereo, and some street cred. Now if you follow my channel, you know that being a Gore-Tex ADV bro, I gently rib the bagger bros once in a while. But it's no secret that I also dig cruisers, and I still harken back to the year 1999 when I started riding on the Suzuki Intruder 1400. Back then, the Vulcan 1500 was a straight-up badass bike, and held the title for the biggest V-twin cruiser until the Victory V92C came along. So I appreciate a good old American-style V-twin as much as the next guy is what I'm saying, and I have to admit the Vaquero definitely scratches that itch. The engine is a liquid-cooled 1700cc 52-degree V-twin pumping out about 81 horsepower and 108 pound-feet of torque, just a touch above the Milwaukee 8 107 motor. The radiator is visible from the front, but is nicely incorporated into the frame-mounted fairing. The engine sounds and feels like what it is, a huge V-twin with stump-pulling torque. It may not have as much power as the latest, biggest and baddest motors, but has no trouble getting up and going while giving the rider that visceral experience that V-twins are famous for. The vibes are pulsing and pleasant rather than buzzy and annoying, and the sound? I have to point out the 6-speed gearbox here because it was a highlight of the bike. First of all, floorboards and heel-toe shifters are great. The Vaquero gives you a huge heel shifter for the upshifts, and those gears engage with a very satisfying clunk when you stomp on it. There is no question of being in gear with this bike. You give that thing a good kick and it notches into the next gear with intention. You have a gear indicator on the dash, and instead of 6th, it reads overdrive for relaxed highway cruising. At 3000 RPM in overdrive, you're already breaking the speed limit anywhere in Canada by a considerable margin, so the engine never feels busy. On a 2-lane, you can make a quick pass in 6th, but if you have a short window, a shift down to 5th will make quick work of any traffic in front of you. Handling is surprisingly light and well balanced for an 845-pound motorcycle, partially due to the fairing being frame rather than fork mounted. Baggers are not generally built for twisty road performance, but can be hustled through the bends at surprising speeds, and the Vaquero is no exception. The suspension is on the sporty rather than plush side, the fork is not adjustable and has 5.1 inches of travel, while the twin shocks give you 3.1 inches and are adjustable for rebound damping. Because of the stiffness of the suspension, you feel the bumps, but when the road gets twisty, the bike tracks well and holds a line in the bends. Ground clearance is decent, and I only dragged the floorboard a couple of times, once on the highway on-ramp. The fuel tank holds 5.3 gallons or 21 liters, which should get you about 250 miles or 400 kilometers down the road. The low fuel warning light will be on long before then. The Vaquero has plenty of comfortable amenities like the low saddle, which sits 28.7 inches above the ground. It felt comfortable to me, though if you sit on any saddle long enough, your butt will get numb. It's not really made for passenger comfort though, and my wife Brooke was not impressed by the sparse passenger accommodations. If you're going to carry a passenger, you're better off getting the Voyager, basically the same bike and fully dressed guys. Speaking of comfort, the fairing is wide and gives you plenty of wind protection as well as 2 lockable storage cubbies. The mirrors are smooth and actually allow a good view of the road behind you, and the bags on this bike are huge, each holding 44 liters, much larger than the 30-liter bags on the Goldwing or 33-liter Harley bags. They are side-loading and have handy rubber restraints to keep your stuff from falling out. The stereo looks and sounds good, however, as with all baggers with these lower windshields, at anywhere above 50 miles per hour or 80 kilometers per hour, it's hard to hear. These short little windshields look cool, but taller or adjustable ones are way more practical for listening to the stereo and also keeping the bugs off your helmet. It was prime bug time in central Ontario, and I had to keep stopping often to clean my visor. I'm 6 feet tall, but I'm sure that shorter riders would have experienced the same thing because I was getting bugs even on the lower parts of my face shield. The big old windshield on the Voyager would have been appreciated. The Vaquero comes with cruise control, which works perfectly. However, the button placement for that feature wasn't great. I found that I had to let go of the grip to reach the cruise button. As for other electronic features, you get ABS and a linked braking system, which on a bike like this I like. These systems are not suited for sporty riding or off-roading, but on a long tour it's good to know that both brakes are engaged by either the lever or the foot brake. In a panic situation, you don't want to tuck the front or go skidding on a locked rear wheel. By far one of my favorite things about the Vaquero though is the price. Kawasaki has positioned itself as a value brand and offers some of the best bang for the buck deals in motorcycling. The Vaquero costs $18,600 in the US and $21,400 in Canada. Compare this to your base Harley Road Glide, which runs $22,000 US and $27,500 Canadian. And good luck getting one for MSRP. I get that the Harley will hold its value better, but $6,100 Canadian dollars more? More like $8,000 when you consider the usual Harley markups. And the bikes are very comparable. I know that for some riders it's Harley or nothing, and I also get that no competitor quite sounds like a Harley. But I like my money in investments that appreciate in value, and motorcycles are not those kinds of investments. At any rate, if you want the full bagger experience and are less concerned about the name on the tank, the Vaquero is the least expensive bagger out there. Yes, it doesn't have an iPad display, nav, or the latest rider modes and lean-sensitive doodads, but you pay a lot extra for those. So, it's fair to say that I like the Vaquero. It looks really good, better than the Harley Road Glide and the Indian Challenger in my opinion. The saddlebags are huge and nicely integrated into the bike. I love the design of the rear light and fender in general. The frame-mounted fairing looks good and makes for relatively light steering. The round analog gauges look cool, pretty much how an old-school cruiser should look, and the radio evokes memories of the 60s muscle car era. The Vaquero handles well in the twisties with a sporty feel. The brakes work well, the engine feels like a proper pulsing big twin. The sound is okay, will be better with some slip-ons. It comes with engine and bag guards. The final drive is a low-maintenance belt, and it's a Kawasaki. I keep harping on this repeatedly, and you can say what you want about metric cruisers copying Harley, but I don't see many Japanese bikes broken down by the side of the road. I speak from experience. Not trusting your bike to get you home is not a fun feeling. And Japanese bikes get you home, and don't wipe out your bank account doing it. Is the Vaquero perfect? No. Let's face it, it's a bit dated. Other brands make more powerful bikes with bigger engines, though it feels funny to say that a 1700 is undersized. There are no electronics to save you if you're going to get your bad self over your head, though I'd assume that if you're getting on an 850-pound 1700cc motorcycle, this ain't your first rodeo. The electronics in this class are a relatively new thing, and most bagger riders won't miss them. Other gripes? The passenger seat is an afterthought, sacrificed at the altar of style. The passenger also gets pegs, unlike the rider who has floorboards. The windshield barely exists, and some of the button placement on the controls could be improved. Perhaps the Vaquero's biggest problem is its own big brother, the Voyager, which costs only $700 US and $1,200 Canadian dollars more, and gives you a tall windshield, extra lights up front, a comfortable seat for the passenger as well as the rider, passenger floorboards, and a trunk with an integrated backrest. It doesn't look as sleek and cool as the Vaquero, but that's a lot of value for very little extra money, although I'm not sure why it's so much pricier in Canada. The Voyager is the best value dresser out there. So the Vaquero is an often overlooked bike, but if you're looking for a sweet bagger for the lowest price and don't much care about having Harley or Indian stamped on the side of the tank, you might want to take one of these for a test ride. I really grew to like that cool looking old school dash, and having put about 1000k on it, I felt like it's a bike I could be happy riding. I'm not a bagger bro yet, but definitely see the allure. The comfort and cool factor is tempting. Cruising the boulevard or back road with the stereo on, or long hauling down the highway, these bikes have their appeal. Do you see yourself on a bagger anytime soon, and if so, which one? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, and ride safe out there.